What's up, everybody? It is time for the weekend review. We are going to go over the ES futures for the S&P 500 as we are in a very pivotal spot, and it is very interesting as we flirt around up here for the past week. Really anything can happen, and we had some news at the end of the day on Friday, and so very well a lot of what we talk about today could be a moot point. Trump basically said he made a deal with China Friday after the close. I did some research. I haven't found anything yet. So right now I'm going to assume all is well. Okay. So first and foremost, let's just take a look at a VWAP chart. This is based on the yearly VWAP. Okay. So this is our one standard deviation, very similar to a profile. This is value. Okay. So we moved way outside of value, came back into the second deviation, right? Kind of bounced off, came back, and now we've bounced off the one standard. Now, here's the big part I wanted to show you. We are essentially bumping our head on yearly VWAP, okay? 57.42, got a nice little smack, and it went in tune with a weekly level we had there as well. But for those of you who know how VWAP works, I mean, this is for value for the year. We could potentially be seeing a top up here, or one of two things. We could either, since we're playing this side of value, we could easily go to this side of value, or we could get rejected from this VWAP right here, which is very possible. And I'm only using this as confluence because I have some really significant levels up here, and we do look a little soft. But there is a situation where one of the two things is going to happen, and it's like right here. The risk is very defined. We should know immediately, if not sooner, what's going to happen Monday or even tonight at the open. So we'll see. I will say this: the 200-day and the 100-day are right here. Okay, so we're all up in these high time frame moving averages, yearly VWAP, kind of a big deal. So here's what I noticed as well. We have this high volume node, and then it really gets kind of low in here and comes all the way up to the yearly point of control. Okay, so this is where the biggest volume is taking place for the year up here, around 60-50, let's call it. Okay, so if we do end up pushing above this area, above this 57.50 area, there is a good chance that we start to fill this in and come back to the upper side of value. So not only is it POC, but it's also the edge of the one standard to the upside. So I wanted to point this out because I thought this was a very interesting chart. And then now let's go ahead and just get into our levels as normal. But I wanted to notate this regardless. So the next thing we're going to pull out is our weeklies. So here I have an ETH weekly, which is the weekly that runs 23 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then this is my cash session weekly, which I predominantly use. And then this obviously over here is the weekly point of control, the weekly TPO. And it runs during cash session as well. One of the things I wanted to point out specifically is the fact that we have a very good high put in. And we are dead smack in the middle of value once again. We have a very large point of control down here that is still untested on the weekly, around 55.50. And if we start to slip below, let's just call it 56.70 area, we're going to get underneath this really large seller here, and we're going to start to fill this in. Okay, so we could easily slip down to 56.34, or this big area here. We had a lot of activity that we got to bounce from last week. Around 56.50. But what I'm getting at is this area looks like it needs to be filled in. We'll see what happens. Obviously, a breakout above this value area high is just going to continue to push this up. However, one of the things that I want to point out, and it's important that you guys recognize this because this is going to come into play with another one of our setups that I'm going to point out, is that there is an extremely large amount of activity on the TPO on the weekly up here. Massive amount. Okay, so I marked this area, and this is an area that I'm actually looking at to short, and I'll show you why. This is kind of like my line in the sand. Gets any higher than this, it'll probably continue to go up, but we're going to come back to this, and I'll show you guys what's up. Also, just to let you know, I am looking at the front month contract for ES futures. So I'm not looking at a continuous contract. I'm looking at the M contract specifically, and just make the note of that as you're comparing my chart with yours. So now we're going to get on to the daily chart here. Okay, and as we go down into the smaller time frames, we will break it down a little bit better, but this is essentially our support here. big support. Right. And then so we've got a couple levels here, and one of them is absolutely this 94 level, above or below. It's going to be very important. It's going to be a high time frame line in the sand for us. The other one is 64. Okay, so we have 64, 74. I'm going to call 64 our bottom line, and I'll show you here shortly what I mean when we get into that. We're going to use this level to really kind of adjust to whether we're going to be above or below here. Okay, we were really flirting with 75 this week, hard, but the 64 is the lower end of this, and so I think it's a little bit more important to focus on the 64 more so than the 75, 78, because there's a weekly at 78. Okay, so we have this weekly here at 78, and we were focusing on this area over the last week, and it worked perfectly. But as I got a chance to dial this in a little bit more, I actually like the 64 more a little bit for the extreme side. Now, what we need to accomplish in order, the bulls need to accomplish in order for this to move higher, is a close over 57.11. They have popped up here twice and can't get it done. This to me is an extreme sign of weakness. But again, with the news coming out, this all could be a moot point, so I don't know. What I do know is that everything is tested essentially underneath 64 until we come down pretty far as the daily time frame is concerned, which is all the way down to 55.63. Okay, now there is some 4-hour support in between here, which I'll soon show you, but let's keep an eye on this 55.63 as we go to the other side, okay, to the other smaller charts. We got 94 to be above or below, and then we also have the 64, which is really important, above or below, and we have to get above and gain 57.11. Now if they pop up here, we still have this daily at 57.53 that is untested. I could see this playing. It's not my favorite. To be quite frank, once we got above the 57.40 weekly, I would be a little concerned. Okay, so I really don't want to see them push any higher really than our 57.40 weekly, which I'll get into very soon for you guys. And we're going to use 57.11 as our above below level, and I'll show you very soon why. Now, if they end up pushing above 57.53, we do have another daily up here that I do like at 58.28.75. It's kind of a really nice leg tip up here. The thing is, if we get all the way up here, I would only look for a pullback probably to here at the most. Okay, so I don't think this would like slam it or anything, but it's still a good, 70, 80 points, which is great. Okay, so but by the time we get up here, I would assume there'll be more support. So we'll see. All right, so that's the levels for now on the daily time frame. So bringing it over here, and I'm just going to show you guys what's up here. This is my 4-hour and my daily TPO. Okay, so and as you can see, this area right here, this red, is what we marked on the weekly, if you recall. Okay, it's all that activity up there. There's also a naked point of control for that daily POC. And then I'm going to pull this up here, even though this kind of goes out of our scope, but because you can see this, I wanted to talk about it. This is a 1-hour untested level at 57.20. I really like this. We have a big weekly at 57.18, so you can easily let it play 21, call it, and then get back under 18 to get short. This huge activity takes place right here, and then we also have this head and shoulder over here, this previous week high, which I'll show you shortly. Okay, and then all the way up, this is the 57.40 weekly. We have another 4-hour untested here. I'll show you right now. So let's get to the 4-hour here. So this is the 57.39. This is untested up here. But what I really want to see, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't, try to short this or whatever, but more than likely, what I really want to see, because we closed under here, and then they popped up, and then they closed again down here underneath this one. I want to see 0350 play. I think this is a great level. I really do. I think this is the spot. And let me just show you on this too, when I bring up the 1 hour. So the 03 is directly right here. We have the 1 hour right here at 5700 and a 1 hour at 56.96.75. I'm more interested in the 5700 to 03 spot. As long as they don't get above this area here, this thing can really, really come down. And again, we still have 20 is wide open up here as well, which is that, aggressive spot I was telling you right up here with this point of control area. So, this whole area is plausibly shortable, okay? Until we get over 40, I'm still leaning to the downside a little bit, but we'll see what happens, okay? But again, like I said, the ideal scenario would be for 0350 to play, and then we've come back down in here to 5645. If at that point it gets above this wick here, and that wick is, what price is that wick? Give me 1 second. That wick is 56.53. If this 45 plays and gets back above 53, you could get long, okay? But because we already got a hellacious reaction from this area, I would be cautious down here. I would just wait for it to get back above the 52 daily or the 53 swing low. As you can see, this 52 daily played the other day, which I'll show you. Well, that's this right here, and popped up. So this area, even though it got front ran, it could play again, but the fact that they can't gain up here, and I would just be cautious. Again, like I said, doesn't mean the trade won't work, but just be cautious. And again, it may only play just for like back to 68 and then come down. We don't really know. But if this area gets hit, 45.75 is my first target, and I would be out of a lot of it by then. And then all the way down here, we have another 4 hour at 55.8275, and then another 4 hour at 55.3675. This all comes into play because there's higher time frame levels in here that we'll soon show you guys. And actually, if you want, let me just throw this on here. I know this looks crazy. There's just so many levels because we're in this leg area to the left, and so I have to pull the context from all this stuff. So again, here is a lot of this stuff is tested. As you know, if it's red, that means it's tested, but it is important to be above or below. The blue is ETH, and it's also tested. So everything I have here is tested except for this 0350 4 hour, which get back above this, and then get back above 5700. We could get us a slide, come back into 56.45.75, maybe bounce around a little bit, and come down and maybe make new lows. That's what I see potentially happening, and even lower. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Let me pull this out. Blow this up here. All right, so if we come down off this 03, let's just say, right? We start to come down, we got 45.75, and then we've got this huge monthly down here that's played 3 times for us, basically 56.05.75. Got to remember this, okay? This is the 55.94 directly below this. I marked it as tested even though they missed it, okay? But it's got so close that I would be cautious. If I was to buy this again, I would make sure to get back above the 56.05.75. I want to see them get back above this. This is our trigger. Okay, now, there is a very large untested area down here. We have an ETH monthly, the leg up, which it should be noted, it's not necessarily untested. It is untested, but it's not a level I'd be looking to buy. It's a level I'm looking to as confluence with other things. We have a 4 hour at 55.8275. and a daily, the ETH daily at 79.50. This area looks pretty solid to me. The 50-day moving average is also right here as well. Okay, same spot, 55.79. Okay, then directly below that, we have a weekly at 55.66 and a daily at 55.63. We also have 420's previous value area high and the previous week's POC at 55.53. This is a thick area, so I don't know which part of this spot because it's necessarily going to hold, but it sure looks pretty strong to me. Okay, so if we come down here, this may hold. I don't know. This may hold. I'm not really sure. Okay, 55.63 is a big spot, and if you guys remember where that comes from, I'll pull the daily over here so that you can see this as well. This is that daily here that we talked about. It's the only untested daily I have down here. Okay, So if it's not for that, we're in big trouble. And just remember, every time we get underneath one of these red lines, the 55.64 is our first one, 55.94 is our next one. We're losing massive areas of support every time we get underneath one of these. So we have to continue to look for downside progression, okay? And then obviously use those for back above as well. But once we're above this, we continue to go that direction. 55.16, and it just all breaks loose. All hell breaks loose underneath that. So I got nothing for a long time underneath that. So I didn't even mark down there just because I'll worry about that if that happens. So for right now, what we want to look at, in my opinion, is getting down in here. So if 55.63 doesn't hold, there is still a nasty lasty 4 hour at 55.63.75. There is a naked POC here at 55.90.25 as well. This area should be noted heavily, okay? And this, to me, you need to be back above 63 and especially 55.79 to continue our move. Obviously, the 94 is the level that we lost, so we need to stay above this 55.66 weekly. So I'm going to show you why. This is the weekly. Okay, the 55.66 is where we got this huge bounce from for 3 weeks. Okay, we get below that, this thing is in trouble. So as you can see how each one of these levels comes into context. So we want to stay above 55.66 at the absolute most, at the worst, and continue to work our way back up if we're going to continue to go higher. Now, let's look at the other side of the equation. So we said that if it can go either way. We know that, right? So let's just go ahead and say on this 4 hour that we get above our 57.11 and ultimately our 57.18, right? We have this 4 hour way up at the highs at 57.39, and then we have a daily, which is the last daily I told you guys about, way up here at 57.53. It is untested. I'd watch for that. There's also a weekly at 57.75. Okay, if they end up making it through all this, we're going to clip April month's high, and then we have another weekly up here at 57.82, and then it keeps going up. But this is the 200-day moving average here. Okay, 100-day moving average is way up here. The big weekly naked POC at 58.14, and finally this huge daily all the way at the top. 58.28. Okay, so there's your levels above, below. That's my thesis for so far. I think we are essentially in a position where we want to see 57.03 get smacked. We want to stay below 5700 and 57.1150 for our continued down move. Our first targets are 56.45 and then ultimately lower around 55.79.50 and 55.63. That is the areas that I would be looking for on the down. So again, value, if we start to accept value above 57.11 through 57.40, and really ultimately it's around 57.25, so you have about a 12.5 point area here where they could accept value, they will continue to move higher. So if they start to build value in here, they're going to go up, right? If they come up here and smack here and stay below 5700, stay below 57.12, great. If they come up to 39 and play and get back up below 11 and 18 and 5700, great. But if they start to accept value above 57.12, we're going to push higher, right? Assuming that they bust through 57.39, which is the 4 hour. Okay, so this is kind of the nasty lasties up here to keep us contained, but I really don't want to see it get much higher than 21. Okay, so now that we've done all that, I'm going to pull this last chart up for you guys just so that we can see how it's looking here. This is the 1 hour. Okay, so we got the 57.21 way up here. We've got this area here, this 5700, which I like the best, and the 03. I'll show you. This is here you go. Here's the overlay. The 4 hours up here at 0350. Look what else is here. Previous weekly value area high, 5703. So a lot of confluence at the 5703 area. Okay, get back below 5700, you're off and moving, right? You should be able to get 50 points out of that, I would think. One of the things I did notice that they might play, and I'm not sure, this would have to be a target, we do have an untested 4 hour at 56.68.50. It's right here. So they could bounce off of this and come up and play 03, or if we play 03 and come down, they could potentially use it as support, considering we have a daily right here at 56.64. So use your head, understand how to play this, use the price action, and that's where I'll leave you. I hope you guys are having a great weekend, and I will see you on the battlefield. Cheers.